Hello, this is Malorian and the Orc Tactical Team, tackling another one of these ones of how an army does in general in 8th. And this time we're going to be talking about vampire counts. Uh, Army that I love, and I don't play actually because it does very well in some nasty, nasty ways. So let's kind of break this down. First of all, in our core, ghouls are great. Put those ghouls in a horde, and it's just a ton of poison attacks. Just slicing you up, and that toughness 4 makes them very defensive. The only thing you have to worry about when you're going with a whole bunch of ghouls, and of course now that you have to take 25% core, you're going to have lots of them to start anyway. Usually in a 25 to 3,000 point game, you're going to have 2 hordes plus a bunker worth coming just from core. The only problem of taking everything from ghouls is if you get the blood and glory, because ghouls can't take banners. And so unless you have a lot of other places to sneak banners in, you're really putting yourself at risk. So a lot of times I'm seeing it as you always want your core to be ghouls, and then for your bunker, okay, as a bunker, make it the skeleton, so at least you get that one extra banner in there just to help balance things out. Because you don't want it ever to be that, okay, well you have your general for 2 and maybe grave guard for 3, and I mean, can you do a BSB to get the 4, but that BSB that usually is fairly easy to kill dies. Oh, look, I lost the game. So you never want to get yourself into that situation. So try and find in some way to sneak in some banners, whether it's a skeleton bunker or something else. Next up is our special, and amazingly good. Graveguard, amazing in 8th. And some of the reason for this is that they have great synergy. You have take your Graveguard, give him a great weapon, so he's strength 6 with killing blow. Then you give him the banner, so they're +1 to hit. And then, of course, you have some supporting banner with the Helm of Commandment, which is going to go and make them weapon skill 6 or 7 or even 10 if you have the Fencer's Blades on your Lord or something. And then all of a sudden, well, you're going to be hitting on 2s, wounding on 2s, and I mean, you're just going to be slaughtering things like crazy. Some more synergy you can get in there. You can get, like your Van Hells or your Miasma from your cart, so that all of a sudden they're always strike first and maybe re-rolling to hit. You have your Staff of Damnation, so they can be getting free attacks as well. There's so much synergy you can be working with this unit. And then, of course, I mean, you can always get the regen banner going in there to make them even more tough and make all your characters hiding in there tougher. It's just very powerful. And then even if you don't go for the really offensive killing, you can always just have your Graveguard with shields as well. And then just, same thing, if you have that regen banner in there, it's going to be really hard to kill any of these guys, and then usually they should be winning combat anyway because it's a lot of strength 4 attacks, and then because you didn't do much to them, they win combat, boom, run you down. So nasty stuff. And then we get to our ethereal. So they have spirit hosts and they have the wraiths. And even though you see a lot more magic, I mean, there's no way you just don't take magic unless you're dwarves now. The thing is that because you see a lot of these big hordes, not all of them are going to have magical attacks. Actually, almost none of them are going to have them. Only a very few are going to be supported with characters with magic weapons. A lot of times now when you see support characters, it's just like a hero with a great weapon. And so the best way to deal with this is just throw some ethereal units at it. If you have this big unit of core and marauders with great weapons coming at you, you don't want to have to fight this out with your ghouls. Just throw 3 spirit hosts at them. Ignore them for the entire game. Then all of a sudden you can concentrate on something else, smash it, and if you want to, come back to beat them later. If you get these big monsters coming at you, hydras and, abomination with, magical attacks and stuff like that, throw your wraiths at them, or the spirit hosts. I mean, at least with the wraiths you can try killing them, but even if you just had spirit hosts, boom, you're locked down. You're not doing anything for the rest of the game. So, fantastic stuff there. Some people like to still do some of the whole night horde thing, and it can work. The main thing there that can make it work is just the fact that even though you're going to be taking some damage, it's the same thing as before. You're going to have that the blood drinker and your usual spells to raise them up. But the nice thing at least about the blood knights is that they're so killy that at least you can try and keep up and eventually take away steadfast. If you're going to do this, you're probably going to need to back this up with some magic and try and, reduce some leadership or something like that. I really just think this is really more of a points denial tactic, but hey, it's a very well working points denial tactic, so it's something that's out there. And then, of course, for when you get to your characters, there's just so many things you can do, it's insane. one of my favorite combat lords is that I give him the sword of bloodshed, so he has +3 attacks. I give him, infinite hatred, so he's rolling everything to hit. I give him red fury, so that every time he hits and wounds and kills, he gets another roll, so you can get a bunch of extra attacks. And then I give him a potion of strength, so that for the one time that I'm against a character or a monster or something, he's also strength 8. And I mean, this guy just slaughters like crazy. You might have noticed that in there he doesn't have a lot of things beefing his magic, but you're just going to be slaughtering things in combat anyway. And then, of course, you can always have your support vampires in your bunker or something. And talking about support vampires, that's another great way to get past this magic system. Vampires very reliant on magic, so having random magic dice can be very scary, unless you have a couple of vampires that have in those Master of the Black Arts. You take 2 of those, well then all of a sudden, no matter what you roll, you're getting an extra 4 dice. So that's pretty solid stuff. And then of course with these extra guys in there, that means you have your guy in the back that you can have the Helm of Commandments, you have the guy in the back that you can give the Staff of Damnation to, or the Spell Scroll, or it just gives you spots to give those. And of course if you have more wizards, that means it's more chances to channel as well. And finally, even though having this stuff in characters can really take away from the rest of your army, it's still points denial, which vampire accounts have always been the kings of. One thing to worry about, though, that is really kind of killing our points denial and stuff, is that in 8th, you see a lot more death. I mean, of course, in combat, you're seeing more people being able to attack. They're always able to attack. And what that means is that even though you're going to be fighting a lot more back at the same time, you're going to be losing more. So whereas you could easily just, keep on raising up your ghouls and all that stuff and know that if I have this one combat, I can always keep up with it. Well, now so many die that you have to be very careful. And of course, the other thing is that now that if you ever fail at casting, that wizard can't cast anymore. That means your whole, raising spam doesn't really work the same. I mean, if you have multiple vampires, you have a little bit of a backup, but it's very dangerous. So you have to be very careful now as a vampire player to be only engaging if you feel very confident. And probably the best thing to do is actually just pick one fight at a time, so that okay, right now I'm doing this fight, which you're probably going to be starting off with your Grave Guard because they're so tough, and then going from there. I mean, you don't want to do the whole usual thing that all the armies is, so I'm going to be hitting all the way across the line. Nope. Either concentrate on one flank or deploy kind of like at an angle, so you're going to be engaging here first and then here, so you can kind of offset that, so you can know, okay, first I'm supporting this with magic this turn, and this next turn, and I'll be doing this next turn. So you have to be a little bit careful with that, but otherwise, like I said, they got some pretty solid core, some amazing special, and then if you're ever scared, hey, look, you're caught up in ethereal. So amazing stuff. So there you have it. Vampire accounts in 8th can have some problems, but they can also be dangerously amazing.